Hi there, Richard Fulmer here. Welcome to another edition of Richard's Rock Rambles. We're going to take a look at another two DVDs today. One is a tribute DVD and the other is a supergroup that was put together a number of years ago, and they have released the one DVD. So the tribute one is for the late Traffic songwriter, drummer, percussionist Jim Capaldi, and the DVD is called Dear Mr. Fantasy, featuring the music of Jim Capaldi and Traffic. A great DVD with a whole bunch of guest artists on here. Some amazing performances from people like Steve Winwood, Yusuf Islam, but known as Cat Stevens, Pete Townsend, Joe Walsh, Paul Weller, Gary Moore, and a bunch of others. There are a number of tracks on here, at least 20 plus tracks. It was recorded on the 21st of January 2007. Acclaimed broadcaster Bob Harris, who used to have that show on the UK called the Old Grey Whistle Test. He's the compere of the evening. He introduces everybody. Jim Capaldi's wife also appears on stage and says a few words. A great DVD, well recorded, amazing sound. Let's just show you. That's the inside. There's Jim Capaldi there. There's another shot. There's quite a cool booklet as well. Tells you the whole story of, that's him and his wife. Story of Traffic and Jim Capaldi's work within Traffic. Great songwriter, as I said. Some nice photographs as well. So yeah, it's quite a few pages in here. There's some really cool shots of the guys on stage. So who's in this DVD and what do they play? Let's have a look. It starts off with the intro from Bob Harris. Goes into Paper Sun with Paul Weller. Really good version of that. Lost Inside Your Love with Stevie Lang, the great female vocalist. Living on the Outside with Joe Walsh, Bill Wyman and John Lord. Some pretty big names here. Elixir of Life, Dennis Lockery, he's got a great voice. Simon Kirk from Bad Company and Free. He's actually got a pretty good voice. I was quite surprised when I watched this. You know, everybody knows him as the drummer, but not as a singer. He does Well Meet Again. There's a whole bunch of tracks. I just want to try and pick out some of the others. Light Up or Leave Me Alone from Steve Winwood. Obviously, Steve Winwood was with Jim Capaldi in Traffic, the main singer and instrumentalist. Gary Moore, the late Gary Moore, does a track called Evil Love, which is pretty good. Paul Weller, Mulberry Bush. Joe Walsh has a great version of John Barleycorn Must Die, the title track from that particular album. There's a Gary Moore on here as well, which is really good. Yeah, Evil Love. Blistering guitar work from Gary Moore on that track. And then right at the end, there's a track called Love Will Keep Us Alive with Steve Winwood, Joe Walsh, Mark Rivera, Gary Moore, John Lord, The Stories, and Bill Wyman, a whole bunch of folks on stage. A great DVD and a great celebration of Jim Capaldi, who's, I think, sometimes overlooked within the Traffic, their output and what they did. Great songwriter and a great percussionist and drummer as well. So that's another one to check out. Dear Mr. Fantasy, tribute to Jim Capaldi. And the next one I want to chat about is a band put together by a bunch of notable musicians. They've made, I think, 4 albums thus far, and they released this DVD this was in 2011. And I think this was after their second album was released. So I'm talking about the band Black Country Communion. So who's in Black Country Communion? You've got Glenn Hughes on vocals and bass. Obviously with the Purple, Trapeze, and a whole bunch of solo work as well. Joe Bonamassa, he's got a huge solo career. He's also played with Beth Hart and a whole bunch of other people on guitar. Derek Sherinian on keyboards. One-time Dream Theater keyboardist. He's also been with a whole bunch of other. He's got a whole bunch of solo stuff. I think he's just released a new solo album as well. So he's on keyboards, and the one and only Jason Bonham on drums, John Bonham's son. great drummer, very much in the style of his dad, very powerful drummer. And this band just lock in. I mean, to me, this is, if you took this band back to the early 70s, they'd be huge, absolutely huge. A great songwriting. Obviously, in Glenn Hughes, you have an amazing vocalist. Bonamassa also does some vocals, so you've got the two playing off against each other, and a rock solid rhythm section as well with Jason Bonham on drums and Derek on the keyboards, adding some nice Hammond organ. So on this one, you've got, it's a double disc. The second disc is a bonus feature, the making of Live in Europe, how they got the band together, how the guys came together, etc. So that's quite interesting. The first disc has got a couple of good tracks: Revolution of the Machine, which is an intro, Black Country, One Lost Soul, which is a great track, Crossfire, Save Me, The Battle for Hadrian's Wall, which I think features Bonamassa on vocals. His voice is also pretty good. Bigger Man, I Can See Your Spirit, The Ballad of John Henry, which is a Bonamassa track from one of his solo albums. They do it really well on here. Smokestack Woman. Then they do Burn, the great Deep Purple track, and these actually really do a good version of that as well. And there's another standout track called Man in the Middle from their second album, which is a good hard rocker. Some great guitar work from Bonamassa. I mean, he's such an amazing guitarist. And Glenn Hughes, obviously a great bassist and singer. So if you can find this, it's one to check out. One of the better super groups for the last 10 years or so. Hopefully they're still going to make another album. I think there's talk of them doing something in 2021. So here's hoping because I mean, they're such a great band, and you can see the guys feed off each other. They all get along pretty well from what I can gather. And yeah, this is a great snapshot of them at this time. Produced by Kevin Shirley, who's also the longtime producer of Joe Bonamassa. So there we go, another 2 DVDs to check out. Very different, obviously, but both well worth seeing. Hope you guys have a great week, and take care. Cheers.